A spokesman for the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran says the country's actions to reduce its commitments under the 2015 nuclear deal are in line with the agreement.
We have said time and again that what we are doing is in context of the JCPOA itself. It is not out of JCPOA. The Americans, they have their own propaganda, and I think nobody believes that, because everybody knows that what we have done so far is in the context and the framework of the JCPOA. Based on the paragraph 26 and 36, this is the right of Iran. If the other side is not committing their commitments, they are not committed, then we have every right to remove part of our commitments. This could be in whole or in part. So we have decided to remove, as I have already mentioned, temporarily, to suspend part of these commitments to wait and see whether the other part is doing their own commitments.
The European Union has expressed concern about Iran's decision to increase the level of its uranium enrichment. The EU called on Tehran to stop and reverse what it described as activities inconsistent with its commitments on the 2015 nuclear deal. The bloc said parties to the agreement, known as the JCPOA, are discussing a possible emergency meeting over Tehran's decision. European signatories to the JCPOA have accused Iran of violating the accord. I'd like to welcome my guest to the program, Stavros Mavrodeas, Professor of Political Economy, University of Patian. Thank you so much for being with us. Well, your take on what has happened now, the EU is expressing concern about Iran, as Iran has basically decided to increase its level of uranium enrichment. What is Iran supposed to do when it's been more than a year now that the U.S. has left this JCPOA? And of course, the Europeans have not come up with any type of alternative to go around the sanctions put on by Washington.
The EU is in a conundrum, in a terrible position. It is being pressed by the U.S. Even against its own EU's interests. It tries to resist on some issues, not all. On the majority of issues, the EU goes along with the US. The JCPOA agreement is one of the issues on which the EU, nominally at least, does not agree with the US. But in practice, it has been proved that the EU is totally incapable or unwilling to take any significant measure. Let me make it more clear. Under the agreement, or in order to sustain the JCPOA agreement, after the US withdrawing, the Trump administration withdrawing from that, the EU had to come with some mechanism that would support trade between the European Union economies and Iran. This was supposed to be the mechanism, the so-called Instex mechanism, actually a mechanism of barter between the EU and Iran. Now, this mechanism is simply a figurehead, I mean a title without any substance. It doesn't cover, it hasn't got any flesh and blood. The Europeans put in this mechanism mainly diplomats and political personnel, not economists and technical personnel. If you want to set up a barter system that is an alternative to dollar-dominated international exchanges, this is a very serious thing. It needs a very robust and clever technical infrastructure in order to work. The Europeans have done nothing of that. Also, they have till now limited the workings of Instax simply to medicine and food. That's not the main problem with trade with Iran. The main problem is oil. And there are where the US sanctions are targeting, and that is what the US sanctions are targeting. So the US is, in a sense, a terrible bigot. This is a bigotry. If you want to sustain an agreement with Iran, then you have to put something in that agreement. That is, the agreement was do not increase your nuclear capabilities, and in exchange we will facilitate and free international economic activities and economic relations and trade change between us. Now, they do not do the second thing, and then they ask for Iran to limit itself within the strictures of the agreement. This is totally illogical, and this is a stance that is inherently unstable.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us out of Athens, Stavros Mavrodias, Professor of Political Economy, University of Pantheon.